Okay, yes. We're still waiting for Matrix to pop in. Yeah, I thought I would just go ahead and just start it, and yeah, without an intro. Um, yes, this is really interesting. Yes, welcome to everybody in the chat. Hey, Body Illusion, good to see you. Hey, I hope. Did you ever get power back, Body? Um, I would like to know because I know that they're still messing with stuff down there. And
Yes, I was wondering if Body Illusion had power yet also.
yes, yeah, and I got a lot. There's a lot going down, down a lot. Big words. A lot going on down there.
It's a mess. I mean, have you
Yeah.
seen any of the news? In Asheville, and it's insane. And it kind of hit them from the back end. They weren't planning on a hurricane, so they didn't have a chance to evacuate, which is
Hello,
really...
Krista Melinda. Conversations with Christy. Sweet Tea. Cosmic Christy. But yeah, well, then I know what they were talking about, one coming in from the East Coast, but now they're saying Kirk, I think is what they're calling that one.
The
I think
new
they were
one?
saying, yeah, I think they said it was going to go towards Europe.
Oh, yeah,
At least,
Kirk is. But
okay.
Milton is coming towards me.
Milton.
Milton? Milton's the name, and it's heading straight for us, and I'm afraid. So there you go.
Why didn't they call it Millhouse? At least that would be named after Tricky Dick. You know.
Oh, I wonder if that's in the rotation. Oh, Rick Spicer.
Rick Spicer, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yes, wow. I hope Matrix is doing okay.
Yeah, I feel like I should message him because I'm a little worried now at this point.
Well, yeah, this show has been a trail of tears. First, I had it scheduled for the wrong day, so it's like I had it scheduled for the right time and the wrong day, so I changed the day. I did not realize it changed that little PM to AM. I was up at that time. I could have done it, and Matrix was, although Matrix said he didn't feel like coming on.
No, he said he didn't feel like coming on. He says he's live on Facebook. I'm just going to say, are you coming?
Yeah, because he has all the personal experience. I mean, I have a couple personal experiences, but nowhere near as interesting as him.
He's got the most of the stories. I've got a couple, but he's got most of the stories.
Yeah, the investigation I was in, nothing happened. I had a big nothing burger.
So, really, nothing happened.
Nothing. No. I have a couple minor experiences, but they were not anything terrifying. It was just kind of a little scary. But
what happened? What were you?
Well, yeah. I was in, of all things, I was in a church of all places, and I had my drum kit set up there because at that point in time I was playing for a church, and what we would typically do is I had keys to it because drum kit. So yeah, we would have a few guitarists would come by and we would play their off hours. Of course, I don't know if the church, we didn't play anything like really bad. We mainly played prog, which isn't progressive rock or progressive metal is not seen as, it's not like Ozzy Osbourne or anything like that. The church would object to. They probably wouldn't.
I would think that they would object to that. Oh, Shelley.
Well, yeah, they probably still wouldn't like some of the lyrics, but they weren't like, rock and a lot of rock and roll lyrics. But yeah, so I was there late night. I was playing with that and just practicing for a bit, and then I moved to the computer. And I was just playing on it. And it's playing, what was it? Crisis, which was a 90s game. And I was just playing it, lost tracks, doing that number. And I look up and it's completely dark. Okay, that's fine. I'm not scared of the dark or anything.
Sure.
But it's a big room. And I heard children talking, but they were in the other, it would have been the other wing where the nursery were. But, walls are pretty thin there, so it's like you could hear stuff. I thought it was a cleaning crew or cleaning lady because she had a young boy. And, okay. So I turned the lights on, get everything together. When I'm leaving, her car wasn't there. And,
Mm,
okay, she still could have been there. So I talked to her after it's like, okay, that's a little freaky, but yeah. I talked to her
sure.
after the fact and she said, yeah, um, I don't like cleaning there at night. And her son said, yeah, the voices there at night are, um, they're kind of scary. And it's like, okay, yeah, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I
Yeah.
didn't see anything. I just heard something, but yeah, I know what I heard. I mean, it wasn't, I couldn't make out individual words, but you can hear like children laughing and things like that. Um, I couldn't make out sentences or anything. It's not like it was saying "Welcome to hell, bitches" or anything like that.
Right.
The walls
But
weren't bleeding,
still,
but
you thought
yeah,
you heard people speaking in the next room.
yeah. And after that, I always had a sense of foreboding there, but I could, you can easily write that up as that's my subconscious because now it knows what to expect there. So that's
Mm,
the way I always treated it as such.
good.
I just didn't like to be there late. But, so tell me about your experiences.
Well, one was you were talking about the sense of foreboding and how you can talk yourself into it. I was in London and I thought it would be really cool to do the Jack the Ripper tour of London.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it sets the mood. It gives you the creepiness and everything. And you go to the bar where they think the women were picked up. It was called the Ten Bells, I believe. And for the majority of it, I'm sitting there rolling my eyes, going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent money on this. This is ridiculous." And
Mm-hmm.
the very last place that we went to was a place where they said it was as close to the original as it was, where one of the victims had been found from Jack the
Mm-hmm.
Ripper. And all of a sudden, I felt like I I felt like there was a pressure on my chest, like
Mm-hmm.
like I was being squeezed, like I couldn't breathe, but I could breathe, and then of course I talked myself out of feeling this way. I'm like, you don't feel this way. It's just it's night. It's dark. It's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friend that I was on the tour with came over to me and said, "See, now this isn't the feeling I get from the ghost in my house." And I was just like, "You feel that too?" I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, it validated what I was feeling, and that
Mm-hmm.
totally creeped me out. Because just to preface that, the day before, she told me that she had a ghost in her house, and I asked if she was afraid of it, and she said no. She felt like it was protecting her young daughter. It was a very protective energy,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next day, I'm getting this horrible feeling like I just have to run. And she's like, "See, this isn't like the ghost in my house at all." I
Mm-hmm.
I totally just wanted to run out of there at that point, and but it was validation for a feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one experience that I had.
Sure.
And then another experience I had was I worked in a place that was haunted, and everybody that worked there said it was haunted. It was supposedly haunted by Mr. Sample. It was a very rich country club, uh,
Mm. Okay.
and right on the beach was started. He started the club. These super rich people, people like Mr. Avis belong there. Truly Nolan, if you've ever heard of the company had a house there.
Hmm.
Very, very high-end place, but originally started in the 50s by Mr. Sample. I was told that he usually liked to pick on young girls.
Hmm.
I was younger at the time. It was years ago. But I heard that he mostly liked to grab their rear ends.
Hmm.
And but it was late at night one night, and I mean, it always felt kind of creepy, but it was. I just wrote it off. It's dark. It's an old place, and then we were just hanging out, putting stuff away, and and I got hit in the back of the head, and I turned around. There was nobody behind me,
Hmm.
and there was stuff in my hair. So somebody picked it up and threw it at me, and it hit me in the back of the head, and it got stuck in my hair. And
Wow.
so from then on, I always said I introduced myself to Mr. Sample every time I went back to that warehouse in that little area of the club. So
Mm-hmm.
so those were my two. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was and that was the thing. You have physical interaction there with objects moving. Now, I don't know. I've always classified, and I realize people use different classifications, things like that. I've always classified like voices that could actually be. There's some theories going around that actually could be quasi-natural, where there could be something in the construction of the walls that causes sound to leak out. They don't really know. I mean, they're just taking guess shots. I I have found it fairly interesting. I was doing some research into this, and I found a bunch of papers, and you could tell the slow progression in the psychology field towards general parapsychology. They
Mm.
still tend to poo-poo it a lot, which okay, yeah, you kind of expect. Um, there's one paper here, or it was a paper. It's actually this paper here that this article in Psychology Today was talking about. It was written. The paper was written by Daryl Bem, B-E-M, who's a social psychology and paranormal investigator. He wrote a lengthy paper on trying to prove precognition. And what they were able to get some results out of it where people were able to expect where things were going to pop up on a computer screen and several other interesting things like that.
Hmm.
The paper was largely poo-pooed, and it was kind of it it was kind of expected it would be. It appeared in the Journal of Personal and Social Psychology, which is not a fringe publication. That is actually that's a high, what they call a high tier paper, but that was back in 2011. One of the things that people noticed as he quoted the White Queen in Through the Looking Glass. And it's like, well, you can quote any. I mean, but why would you attack him for that? The quote was "Impossible things happen before breakfast," and he just made that quote as, "Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about possible things happening or things that are impossible in social sciences." And as they ran through, several other people have attempted the same result, and they weren't able to get it. Um, they weren't able to get the same. They said it was near statistically zero.
Mm.
When a couple other researchers tried it, and when they looked at his, I find this interesting. When they were looking at his paper, they called it experimenter effect, where the paranormals, because you're expecting this, the paranormal's acting in on it. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you're saying there is no paranormal, but you're saying the paranormal is affecting this paper. So yeah, yeah, I don't,
Convoluted,
yeah,
convoluted,
yeah, and
right?
in the middle of doing that, I was reminded of one biologist or anthropologist. He had a theory that the T Rex was a vegetarian. He wasn't preaching. What do you call it? He wasn't preaching creationism or anything else. He just said it was a vegetarian because, they say, well, he had to be a meat eater because he had sharp teeth. He said, well, fruit bats have sharp teeth. And he's saying, well, with all those itty bitty little front arms, you can't
That's
do anything
true.
with those. And yeah, the scientific community just basically lambasted him. And it's like, he's not even saying anything, out of hand or he's just saying, this is my theory, hey, what do you guys think? And they just obliterated him.
Well, isn't there the theory that they're birds now? And isn't that the theory? And birds don't have strong front things, right?
Yeah, as far as I'm
Like,
aware.
like an eagle or something, they use their talon to kind of like rip meat apart and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Isn't it, haven't they pretty much? Because it was reptiles when I was a kid, but I think that they've come around it being birds, and they
Yeah.
might have even had feathers. Have you heard that?
I haven't really kept track of it, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's where they were at. That I just anthropology is not something that really excites me too much. But yeah, I found that person talking about. I found that just to be very interesting, just simply from a social standpoint of how he was being treated by his peers for, it's a theory. What about, okay, here we go. What about smells? Smells can become through before. Yes. And that has been,
Mm-hmm.
Artem.
Thanks, proudly ignorant. Thanks. Now I know.
Well, I mainly pulled up that paper just to try to get a flavor of where the psychiatry realm was in this regard. I did find it interesting. That was way back in 2011. And since then, I was able to find this published a couple years ago. This appeared in Forbes. It does reference another article out of PubMed, but it was basically talking about haunted person effect. And they still poo-poo paranormal, but at least they're coming upon it as they're coming upon it that these are real to the people who are experiencing it. And in the article, they're even saying we cannot explain this, but we still know it's not ghosts. Well, if you can't explain it, but regardless, they were talking about how people that, at least according to them, the people who have paranormal experiences, it's very rare to have just one. Apparently, I'm in the extremely rare category. Um,
Now,
but
have you ever had any precognitive things happen? Because I have.
I have not. I have had, of course, deja vu, but I do understand of where they think deja vu comes from. But it's still just a working theory.
What was your deja vu? What was your experience?
Oh gosh, I get it quite a bit.
Do you really?
Yeah, just a feeling that this has happened before. They say that what it actually is a memory being written to your long-term memory and your short-term memory at the same time, giving you the feeling that this has been in the past. That may be. Um, but yeah, it turns out that 25% of Americans believe strongly that ghosts definitely exist. Another 25% say they probably exist. That's 50% right there. And it seems that the psychological community is at least starting to take it seriously. Now, since then I was doing further research, and a psychiatrist by the name of Chris French, who of all things, let's see if I can't remember, the anomalistic psychiatry research unit of the University of London. He heads that up. I don't know if he's necessarily the best choice to do that because he's made some statements where I'm skeptic. Okay, well, skepticism is good, but a lot of people, skepticism is, no, I definitely don't believe it's this. Well, if you don't believe it's this, should you be handling the anomalous psychiatric unit? Um, yeah, I found his conclusions to be interesting, not at all unexpected, where he was saying a lot of people have night paralysis. A lot of people with ghost experience have night paralysis. Okay, yes, and that has happened. Um, the guy in charge of Wi-Files has a great example. He doesn't believe that he had a paranormal experience, but he believes that he had a um, basically sleep paralysis. And what that is where your cognitive, what they think it is where your cognitive brain switches on, but you still haven't gotten all those chemicals out of your brain that frees your body. Because if you didn't have those chemicals, you would be flailing about and things like that. So your brain kind of locks your body down. And they're saying that what happens, sometimes your brain can switch on before that chemical is out of your system. So you're frozen. And then what seems to happen is that it also is triggering the amygdala at some point, which creates an incredible sense of fear. And this is a sense of fear that they said people who've had real fear, like, bang bangs and, more time and things like that, where, they were certain they were going to die, that a lot of people who've had that experience and then had, this happen to them, that this felt, multiplied many times. That seemed to be an unnatural sense of fear. And so they're saying that's what could cause that, is that your amygdala is being triggered directly by your brain. Now, one of the things that there are multiple things that appear to happen, but one of them is the old hag. And it appears that what is going on is your brain is so hyped up, it feels such a sense of fear, it almost feels inclined to create an image around that. And so one of the images is of a old woman who's coming up to you while you're paralyzed. It's very hard to breathe. And yeah, the guy in charge of Wi-Files, he's had that experience. He explains it away as being sleep paralysis, but he says, I do not want to go back through that ever again. He still calls it, even knowing that it wasn't a real, or he doesn't believe it was a real, hag in front of him. He said he does not want to go through it, and that it's still very traumatizing to him. And, that was kind of interesting. But, yeah, the guy in charge of the psychological unit, he attributes ghost experiences to that. Ghost experiences to when you have, what do you call it, poltergeist items moving, that there's somebody else in the house, you just don't notice them. That seems like a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's possible, you get focused, you don't notice if somebody moves something. Fine. But to explain it all the way as that, come on, that seems a little convenient. So yeah, uh, that was the research that I found on it. And of course, it's very easy to find psychiatrists and psychologists that just go and explain everything away. Now, one of the things that's not useful is, let's just see if I can pull this up here, is you can have so many people who are faking things, and this is very, very, very common in YouTube. This is a clip that I found. I actually have to credit Crow of Judas. I like his name. I have to thank him for this clip. But I did get it from the directly from the source. But he brought this clip out, although I tend to use it for other things. Here, what you have going on is the woman in the center of the frame. I don't know if you guys probably can't see my mouse. She's talking to a device, basically a ovulus device, which is the ghosts are supposed to be able to manipulate things. Now, right off the bat, of course, there's no psychology involved in this, but right off the bat, you can tell there's something flaky with this. She has a person sitting next to her left, that is in on this investigation. Okay. So if
Oh,
those are the subjects of the video, why is the video off center? You look at it, the center of the video is actually the lamp. Why would that be? It's like, yes, they intentionally wanted that curtain in the shot. So what happens? Let me see if this might be loud. I don't know how loud the volume is. So hold on here. I hit the wrong button.
Do you want Victor to leave?
Help?
Help
again.
What do you need help with?
Oh my god. Oh my god! What?
Okay, that is almost completely expected. What you have here is
Help?
I wish I could mute this. What you have is she's looking down at this. She screams, but she has no real look of surprise on her face. Also, when they're getting up, they're walking out kind of casually. If that had really happened, I don't think you'd be casual about it. I don't think you would be in control of your face enough. The look. This is a look of fake surprise.
it
This
sure is.
other shot here is a great example of this. These two are supposed to be the subject of the video. So why is it cantered off to the side? Why is it showing that full curtain so much? You can see it again. She doesn't even look at it before she reacts. It's like she knows that this is going to happen. So yeah, that was just a quick example I dug up on fake surprise. That's what I did my last video on, and everybody of course thinks, oh, that you don't believe in the paranormal. It's like, no, actually I do. I just don't believe in YouTube paranormal.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that I mean, it might help. A lot of it's faked,
Yeah.
Although
And
I love watching it. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Travel Channel junkie. Like, I love
Yeah.
it, but I also see it for what a lot of it is. But some of it seems very real, though.
Oh, good. There's Short Fry. I should get Short. Man, I wish I had Short Fry's. I wish I had her contact info. I'd like to get her on here. But yeah, and that was the thing, because I've been talking with different paranormal groups, and the real paranormal investigation, it's not like that you see on YouTube where you go someplace and every time something happens. It's like just that some of these investigators are magically blessed with things happening to them. Anybody who's had paranormal experiences know that things don't happen all the time. No matter where you are, things don't always move. And it's like, this seems awfully common, but on was it Ghost Adventures? That was Travel Channel. On their show, they've had a couple things. There was one time when they were in a old school, I think it was, or it could have been a hotel. They walk by a room, and you can see a big 2x4 lift up by one end. You can't see the other end. Okay, true. They could have set it up. They could have. But still, the way it moves, you can tell it's being picked up by the end that is showing, because it does this number, and then it flies across the room, or it flies into the room that they don't have the rest of the camera in. Their reactions and the way the board moved, it was before, it was back when Zach, I want to say it was like season 2 or 3. It was pretty early on. The way they reacted was a little more what I would expect. It wasn't the things that I criticize, the modern shows for quite so much. Like, dude, I swear to God. Well, as Mark Bowden always says, well, God's not here. We can't question him. So why are you bringing him up as a witness?
Exactly.
If somebody says, dude, I swear to God, appealing to holy ground, probably not your best thing, because that's usually, that's a pretty good indicator. Now,
I have to say, to Body Illusion, I was addicted to the Dead Files for quite a while. What's your take on the Dead Files?
Dead Files I find interesting. I do
I
find
find
those.
it very interesting.
Yeah. And I have seen a few episodes. I haven't seen a lot of them. Cool. Thank you for that, Short Tribe. I have seen a lot of, or I haven't seen a lot of it, but I do find that to be interesting, and I find that to be a little more, a little more typical of the kind of stuff, where it's impressions, and it turns out, okay, this person seems to have some sort of, connection. Okay, maybe that's
And
that would be,
I like the police detective side too,
yeah,
investigating the facts,
yeah,
the historical facts of the area too.
yeah,
And then, yeah, I don't know. There's something to the having the facts, and then
yeah,
the medium, and then meeting up at the end and seeing if they match up or not.
yeah. And I like a lot of groups like that. Cindy Kaza, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She's done a lot of stuff with Dave Schrader. She
Hmm.
tends to be the same way, where she doesn't want to know anything in advance, and I like that because at least then, and people keep saying, "Oh, well, she's researching it on her own." Well, it's
No,
kind
and
of hard to.
she replaced the person that was doing Dead Files.
Oh, okay. I did not. Okay, and I for some reason
New
I
in
just thought her name, but okay.
So Amy, I forget the last name of the
Mm-hmm.
girl. It was Amy, and she did it for like 12 seasons, I think. And she needed a break from it because she was getting sick from doing it all the time. So Cindy Kaza is the one that replaced her.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes, and I do have to thank Monica for sending me a care package, and Mrs. Bacon really likes the caramel cookie things, and of course that's what it came from.
hi, Monica.
Thank you so much. But yeah, and I do like that kind of thing, because at least there's a little bit of and it keeps it, well, she could research it on her own. Yeah, but if they don't tell her, that makes it really hard. And there's still a level of trust involved there. You have to accept that she has not been told this ahead of time, that the show isn't perpetuating fraud, but it would be fairly open if it would be fairly high level for that show to perpetuate that kind of fraud. And at this point, I just choose to accept it as what it is, and that is what um, that is how I choose, or that is how that's where I'm at with it. I accept. Um, I'm skeptical, but I'm not skeptical like a lot of people. They say, "Oh, I'm just skeptical." Well, that means that you have doubts, or that you doubt something. But a lot of the people who are quote skeptical say, "Oh, there's no way in hell." Well, that's not skepticism. That's disbelief. I mean,
Exactly.
um,
I'm skeptical, but
yeah,
I believe that it might not be real, but
yeah,
I enjoy it, and I love to see how it matches up.
sure.
Oh, look, Jimena's here. Hi, Jimena.
Yeah, that was one of the things too. A lot of people have bashed Zach for a show he did called Demon House, but I thought it was really well done. And one of the things that occurred in it, it could still, yes, it could have been faked. However, there's some reasons why I don't think it is. They say he bought a house that was supposedly haunted, and in one part of it, he sees a apparition, demon, what do you want to call it, walk by. In the camera image that they have, you can see something walk by, but it's incredibly blurry. But at that time, Zach wore contacts, but he's always had fairly bad vision, but he was still able to wear contacts. Now Zach is fairly vain. One of the things that happened in that was his vision got thrown off, and where he can no longer wear contacts, he has to wear what's called prism glasses. That's where your eyes, get out of alignment with each other. Now, the thing is that ever since that episode, and that was done years ago, he has always worn those glasses
Those
are
nasty
beast.
glasses.
Yeah, they're BCGs to the maximum. Now, the thing with Zach, it appears
Plus, he
that
has the mask too. He has like then he started doing the masks
Yeah.
too. He really likes
Now,
to play it up to the max. I don't know
yeah,
about Zach, but
yeah. Talking about the house in Indiana. Yes, I think it was in. Yeah, I think it was in Indiana. Now, a lot of people said, "Well, he bought the
hi,
house and
Caroline.
he had it bulldozed so nobody else can investigate it." Well, the thing is, that's not. He bought the house. He can legally control who enters it. If he didn't want anybody to disprove him, then he should have. That seems like he would have kept it as a future investment. He paid a lot of money for that stupid thing, and he had it. He was. Now the story goes, at least according to
Hi, Janet.
the movie he made on it, was that he had it bulldozed because it's affected him so badly he wanted it wiped off the earth. Okay. Now people are saying, well, he did that so that way he can keep other paranormal crews from going in. Well, he could have done that anyway. He owns the house. He's like, no, I don't want you to go in there. And the
Correct.
thing is, he could have done it and saved face. If there was nothing going on, he could have still saved face. He could have said, it's too dangerous. I don't want to be responsible. I don't care what kind of, not NDA, but what kind of, birth control glasses. I don't care what kind of disclaimer you sign. I don't want to be legally responsible for you going on with attachment. He could have very easily said that.
It's
Close the
private
episode.
property. I'm
Yeah.
not allowing anybody to do it. There's that
But-
one house in New Orleans that it's almost impossible to get in there. They've only let
Yeah.
a couple of crews in there.
Yeah.
The one that was owned by Nicolas Cage, and it had been the slave. It was the place where the slaves had burned to death. I don't know if you're familiar with that story, but it's
No.
it had a really big history on it, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful mansion that, again, it was owned by Nicolas Cage, and it's private property, and they very rarely let anybody go in there.
Mhm.
The one that I can think of that they let in there was Ozzy Osbourne's kid. What's it? Jack Osbourne was
Mhm.
allowed in there.
Oh yeah, yes, I do remember him when he was doing that.
And I like that show that he
Yeah.
did with Katrina Weidman.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that show a lot.
Yeah.
And I love when they get into places that they typically can't get into. But,
Yeah.
you're Ozzy Osbourne's kid, you have a
Yeah.
tendency to get into places that other paranormal investigators might not be able to.
sure. Yeah, not. But another thing about Zach with that house, everybody knows what Zach looks like when he's making stuff up. I mean, because now, unfortunately, it happens about every other episode. Nothing happens, so it's like, oh, I felt a sudden rage. I'm under the influence, and it's like, okay, it's kind of like if James Bond was a spy. If James Bond was really a spy, he'd be a horrible spy because he's getting spotted left and right, flashy car, and it's like, no, that's not the way real spies operate. If that's really happened to Zach Baggins, he's doing something seriously wrong because the dude's getting possessed, more often than most people change their underwear. I mean, come on now. I mean, dude, you're doing something seriously wrong. So, I at least in that respect, I tend to think the Demon House was fairly real, and there were people that were in that had real consequences. Like his film, one of his cameramen. He has footage of him going to the back room. The guy was obsessed with it, and after that episode, he got tattoos all over his face and hands, and that is. Now, it could be said, well, he was always into that. True. But it's kind of odd to do for a television show to cover yourself head to toe and putting tattoos, let's say 666 on your back of your hand and things like that when you're kind of religious. I mean, that's kind of a big no in Christian circles, which is what I believe the guy was before he had that experience. So,
But maybe he was changed for real, you think?
Yeah, it could be.
Hi, Jane.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I wish I would have known that. Oh, I don't know what happened to the guy with all the personal experiences that was supposed to be on. But yeah, this show has just been a trail of tears. I was getting ready to come on, and I tied my headphones into my tie, which I like. Wow, okay, that's interesting. Haven't done that one before. Got the time wrong. Yeah. Oh well.
It
But
is
yeah,
6 what was it, 6 a.m. and says 6 p.m. and
yeah.
all
That's
sorts
just
of things with this. And apparently Matrix Rabbit was available for that, but
yeah, and that's
oh,
yeah. I'm trying to find somebody else. See if I can get somebody else on here. I just wonder if I can just drop the link. You know what? Heck with it. I have stuff. I have bad stuff happen to me, but the way to look at it is, can it really go on? I'm just going to go ahead and drop a chat in here and see if anybody has any. Boom! There's the channel. If you want to come in and talk about any personal experiences that you've had, or anything else.
sure, come on
Why
in.
not? What's the
Now,
worst thing that can happen?
oh, the LaLaurie house in New Orleans. Yes, thanks, Jane Aldridge. Yes, that's right. The LaLaurie house is really creepy.
Yeah, I'd
And
like to.
beautiful.
If let's see here, body illusions bugging me about the tie. And if you have to have the tie, it wouldn't be you without it. Yeah, that's. I'm beginning. I keep thinking about doing a full Windsor knot, but I'm starting to think the only people who do a full Windsor knots are psychopaths. It's a working theory, but
I think you're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're short.
I think Royals do that a lot, and I think they're
Yes.
all psychopaths.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have to be short to tie it because you use so much material in. Unless you have like, please, yeah, feel free. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to find anybody. If you have any personal experiences, please come on and
Yes, come on and
feel free
join
to
us.
talk. We promise we're not going to we're not going to bash you. But yeah, I'm just
Or
trying
bite.
to.
No
Yeah, and
biting.
the big thing is I'm trying to point out that paranormal experiences there is such a thing. I
Well,
mean,
is it unusual for me in my case that they actually picked up something and threw it into my hair? Is that
well,
a
I think that takes it out of the realm of because I could see how somebody would say, well, yeah, but you thought you heard something and you didn't. Being that you have physical interaction with something, that kind of takes it out of that realm of personal belief and it throws it into another realm where something physically happened. Now, that may not be too big of a hurdle for disbelievers. They may say, well, there's somebody behind you who threw it. Okay.
but no, I mean they're really
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
think that was the first thing I did? I'm like, come on. Somebody's back here. No, there was nobody. And it was late at night. It was about midnight. We were just closing up and there was nobody back there. So
Mm-hmm.
totally creepy.
Yeah.
And the
And
fact that it had enough energy to actually pick up matter and move it and throw it
yeah.
out.
Yeah. That's something a little different than like maybe that might happen to some people they attribute to paranormal. Like I swore I laid my keys here, but they're different. Well, that really gets it that's really subjective because maybe you did that and you're just mistaken.
Right.
I've done that, where it's like I could have sworn like no, okay, now I remember I did that. So, but yeah, if you have something flying around the room, yeah, that I would consider that to be, definitely more higher on the scale because it would seem to then take let's see here. Who's the Todd? Is the paranormal guest? Yeah, he was supposed to.
You know what, Ben? He ghosted us. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, my guess
Todd
is he's
ghosted us on the ghost show.
yeah. Yeah, he was supposed Matrix was supposed to pop on, and I don't know what happened to him. He's probably asleep or something. Um, but yeah, hey, stuff happens. So see if I haven't. If anybody has any paranormal experiences, yeah, let me throw it in here again.
I
Please
thought
come on
somebody
and
was
join us.
coming up.
I thought so too.
I
I
thought
haven't.
Short Fry was coming up. Oh,
Please tell me.
seventh. Medicine seventh come up.
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
He
Oh,
has
there we
a
go. Here's
good
somebody.
story.
I heard somebody.
Yes, where is that rascally rabbit?
I thought I heard somebody. Oh, there
Come
we
on,
go.
seventh.
Short Fry. Oh, she's still popping in. Uh-oh, maybe it might be on a slow internet connection.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, and that was one of the things too, proudly ignorant, that while the mainstream psychological associate, or whatever you want to call it, big psych, well, they tend to poo-poo that. The mere fact that CIA operated Project Stargate, which is not like the television show, that was one where they did remote viewing, and
Mm-hmm.
the USSR and China both have their own remote viewing programs. Now, if it didn't work, now they could say, well, that's just the U.S. government wasting money. But yeah, it's reported that they've had some good results, and yeah, that was one of the things that I'm studying of all things. Um, I've had some results with it.
Have
I'm not
you?
quite ready to talk about it, but I think
But
accuracy wise,
I agree with the near death experience thing
mhm,
too.
mm,
That that is repeatable.
mhm,
Same people all over the planet, different areas of the planet, all experiencing the same things.
mhm. So, Short Fry, what are your experiences like?
Okay. What y'all see in Hollywood movies is nothing at all when you go in and doing paranormal investigating, or if
Mhm,
you have a paranormal experience, it's not like what you see in the movies at all. That's one thing Hollywood has corrupted, I believe,
mhm,
in the paranormal is the movies.
mhm. Sure.
So
Um,
what are they like then in reality?
you could hear noises. Um, you could hear knocking. You could see shadows.
Mhm,
Um, you could actually, if you're that open, you can actually physically see um the spirit, what
mhm,
they look
Like an
like, what
apparition?
they're wearing.
Hmm.
mhm,
Yeah, their apparition. Yeah, you can actually see what they're wearing, with facial features,
mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and that appears to be like what Cindy Kay's a lot of what she does, because she'll describe physical characteristics, clothing, and things like that. So, how many have you been on?
But
Have you been on many investigations, Short Fry?
yes, I've been on some pretty intense ones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a part that down here that used to be an asylum, and then it
Mm,
was a jail, a prison, and then they tore down the whole building and made it into a playground.
Oh, so it's not
Uh,
Penhurst or anything like that.
Well, they
Where's that
kept the.
located?
It's in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
All right.
They actually kept the basement to the asylum. They still have the basement. They built it on top of the basement.
Hmm. Interesting choice. Um, do they
And
do anything with the basement, or is it just strictly? Is
Well,
it?
I mean, they got it to where you can't go in it, but it's got a plaque and everything to it. It's where the history, all the history of it.
Mm-hmm.
hmm,
When they had
Interesting.
first built the playground, the police was even coming out there because the neighborhood around it was calling that they was hearing yelling, screaming, howling,
Mm.
flashes of light out there. It was all kinds of
Mm.
stuff.
Okay, yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's where you're talking such a not wealth. I don't know if I'd use that term. A volume of reports from different people that seem to, at least suggest that there's something there. Did you? So you investigated that site?
Yes.
What did you have happen to you guys?
Nothing major happened, but I have caught like a lot of orbs, a
Mm.
lot of shadow people. I did catch one small apparition like of a child, because you'll see it and then it'll disappear. As soon as
Oh,
we
interesting.
was walking up towards the playground, you could see it and then
Mm.
it just goes away.
How many? I don't know if you would care to. em- Please, if I ask you something, you can always punt too. I mean, you don't necessarily have to ask if anything I ask makes you uncomfortable. How many investigations do you think you've been on where nothing has really happened?
A lot.
Okay. Do you care to guess, like, percentage wise?
Probably about 75%.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot different than the stuff you see on
it sure
the
is.
Crayola kids. What's their name? Not the Crayola kids. Twin Paranormal. Every place it goes, oh, dude, Demon House, and oh man, dude, check it out. We got, and they paint different stuff on their face. I'm sorry. To anybody who likes, I realize tastes vary. Okay, so somebody may like them. I personally don't, but hey, to each their own. If you like the Crayola Twin Paranormal, please feel
So,
free. But
so I have to ask, Short Fry, what was your most remarkable experience that
hmm,
really stuck in your mind
good question.
that you really felt was real? Is there anything that sticks out?
My house was actually, I've lived in two different separate haunted houses myself.
Hmm.
Okay. So what
Um,
experience really stood out for you?
the second house that I had, that one, I would be gone at work and I would have neighbors uh when I pull up, because I work night shift.
Hmm.
I would have neighbors coming at me and saying, "Do you have people in your house running around?" No. They was like, "Well, we hear
Hmm.
somebody running from one end to the other." I said, "Yeah, it happens when I'm there. It sounds like somebody's running up and down the hallway."
Oh boy. Oh man.
But I mean, nothing. I didn't get possessed. I didn't get scratched. I didn't have
Now,
things
how
flying off the
did
wall.
that
None of
happen?
that.
Hmm.
So
How often did that happen? Did it like keep you awake at night? Did it
yeah,
how often?
that was constant. Yeah, that running up and down, that was a constant
Hmm.
occurrence.
Were you afraid? Did it scare you?
No, because I'll look out like I always kept my bedroom door open, and I would look out and be like, okay, you're running too much. Sit down. Whoever you
Hmm.
are, sit down. But no,
Hmm.
it wasn't nothing scary or anything like that.
Hmm. So you just accept it and
Well,
have
from my understanding, I would have took that as a child playing
okay.
around.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
a question from Body Illusion. Did you ever ask them to stop?
Not like in a mean way. More like,
hmm.
okay, guys, it's enough. It's
And now,
bedtime.
would they listen? Did they respond? Did they
Oh
calm
yeah,
down
they
after?
would stop. Yeah, they would. They would stop. But like I said, when I be gone at
Hmm.
night when I'm at work, they said I mean, the neighbors was like, "Who's running in your house?" I'm like, "Nobody. It's okay, nobody."
Hmm. Yeah, no,
Now,
that
is it discouraging, or do you continue to go on the paranormal haunts just to see what happens, or has it discouraged you
Oh,
from doing?
oh no, no, no! I have never been discouraged to go on any investigation.
All right.
hmm. Now that's weird when you have something talking backwards. Yeah, or I'm sorry, something that sounds like backwards talking. Yeah. Yeah, that would freak me out.
Now, this is a pretty cool story. Carry On, Janet. My sister appeared to someone I know. My sister communicated with that person who is also a medium.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
I have only felt loved ones that have passed, not seen them, but felt them and had them visit in dreams. I've had loved ones visit in dreams also that have passed.
Hmm.
And I
Oh yeah,
actually,
I've had that.
yeah, I actually had my aunt came to me to kind of let me know that my mom probably wasn't going to be around much longer. And it actually came true within a month. So she just said,
Oh,
she said to me, "Your mom is really tired, just like I was." And
Hmm.
within a month, my mom passed away. I felt like it was my aunt just giving me a heads up, like this is probably going to happen. If I
Yeah,
body
and
illusion,
that's
what was that? She said,
body illusion. Okay, oops, sorry. Let me put that back up.
"It's nice that they listened and respected you, Short Fry. That means they did care about you."
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, you can always protect your house from. You can keep in the good spirits and protect your house from the bad spirits. Now, I'm not saying that it's a permanent situation to do it, but it does help back them off from
Hmm.
coming in.
Hmm.
They're not that's not saying that they're not going to come in, but it does help you um in situations like that.
And how do you do that?
Um you could put salt in front of your doorstep, um incense, lighting sage, incense if you ain't got like the sage sticks. You can light incense and cleanse your house.
Right?
You can bless your house.
Oh,
Like have a
interesting. Is that
priest
on?
come in and bless your house.
Hmm, Rick Spicer. Let me see if I can pull this up. Um. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep talking. I'm going to try to pull up Rick Spicer's video. See if I can find it.
So I used to put salt all around my house to try and protect it from the evil spirits. Do you think that's a good thing to do? I used to
Yes,
line the
yes,
whole outside of my property with salt.
yes. When I go on investigations, I'll do that with my car. Like, I'll put the salt around my whole car when I go out and investigate, so nothing can follow me home. It's like I
Great
guess you would say it
idea.
was like a rubber band effect. Like they try to
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, slingshot them back to where they was. So
Oh, and that's a great story from Miss Sunrise Dawn. Says her cousin came to her in a dream to say goodbye after he passed.
Mm.
That's great. Those
another
stories are
way,
great.
um, another way a loved one can let you know that they're okay, um, is like if you've got plants in your house and they haven't bloomed, and if someone
Hmm.
passes,
Mm-hmm.
they'll bloom. I've had that happen before. Um, money, you finding money just out of nowhere. Like if you don't clean up your house and you just find like a penny or a dime or something, that's another way that they show you that they're okay.
Mm. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Some people I know seem to really enjoy ghost things or spirit things. So here's a picture of a couple. It's a picture of a father and a daughter. And I just thought you might get some enjoyment of checking it out. So here's the kids clearly in a snow outfit. And here's the dad sitting comforting the kid. I go through a bunch of angles at it so you can check it out for yourself. I don't particularly believe in ghosts or spirits, but like pictures of pictures. And you got to take scientific fact with scientific fact. There's an outline of where the dad is sitting, and you can see like the
Mm.
kid in the outfit here, the split in the legs, his hand and his arm go here, leaning in and comforting the kid. There's outline where the kid is, and that's garbage cans, it's garbage nights. And the dad's clearly sitting and the kid's standing on something, so they're clearly sitting or standing on a bench. Clearly sitting and standing on a bench.
Mm.
So, here's a outline of where the two of them are. You can see what you can see from different angles. This is a picture of a picture of a picture. So as you take more pictures and copies and stuff, they get a bit more fuzzier and stuff like that. Here's another sort of angle of it so that you can see different, points in it. You see like the dad's leg.
Oh, gods. Huh. Let's see there. Let me go. How do you. Ah! How do you hit this button? There we go. Okay. So that's what so there's other people on your channel. Do you do investigations with them, Short Fry?
I mostly do them by myself. I haven't collabed with nobody yet, but I
Okay.
mostly and I'm a female, and I go out sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning to go do some investigations by myself. So yeah.
Mm, okay. Oh, let's see what we got. Miss Sunrise Dawn here. Mm. Yeah, and I've heard quite a few people talk about experiences like that,
Hmm.
especially with dead ones who or people who have recently passed that they'll stop by and visit. Um,
Yeah, just to let you know that they're okay.
yeah,
It's okay to go.
and I know that young children in hospitals, when somebody passes, there's a lot of them that will say things like, "Oh, what was it?" There's been a lot of them, and I'm trying to remember if there was a study done with them or something like that. But it happens quite a bit where children will say things like, "Oh yeah, I just saw grandma get on the train and leave," and things like that at hospitals where they've just died. So yeah, some of them really really weird things like that appear to happen. But oh, gee whiz, I'm way up in the chat. Let's see here.
Well, children and pets
Okay.
are really open to that type of,
Yes.
especially
Yeah, and that is one thing that
little children and pets are.
yeah. Yeah, it seems like older that we tend to get closed off to it. The older somebody gets.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we get too jaded. See it.
Let's see if thought Aria was going to try to come on. Yeah.
But
I've tried it
yes,
a couple times.
pay attention to your pets too.
What was that?
I said, if you got pets, pay attention to your pets because they'll see things that you don't.
Yeah, yeah, and that was one thing my significant other was talking about the high school that she would hear. She had worked there during the summer doing records and things like that, or whatever, and the rest of the office would be closed. And at one point, she kept hearing conversations, and but she would bring our dog with her, and she noticed that the dog would turn and respond to these things. So, that's good validation, if nothing else, that what you're experiencing, if there's, something else going on there. Aria, how you doing today?
I am doing great.
Hi, Aria.
Saw this, and I'm like, I want to be the skeptic in the conversation.
Okay.
I'm the type of guy that when my friends are like, I have orbs on my camera, I'm like, show me. I'm like, okay, what else do you have? Anything else? Because I have a ton of friends who are very big into the whole ghost hunting, paranormal stuff. I have friends who have done big hunts. And I'm like, orbs are the problem with when I hear people say, I've seen orbs, I'm like, give me more. Because if you're not going to give me more, orbs is the literal easiest explained scientific thing possible. It is a speck of dust in the air reflecting light in which the human eye can't see. That becomes the biggest. That's when I hear certain things. I'm like, I need more. Give me more. Like,
when people talk about seeing orbs, I treat that different than capturing orbs on a camera, because that that kind of thing happens quite a bit.
And even seeing orbs, there's simple scientific explanation. One, orbs are created, our brain creates them in certain lighting situations. Floating or orbital floating lights is also a signal that you might be getting a headache or a migraine. Like, I'm that type of skeptic. I need more than one thing. I need like a dozen. Like, give me the hardcore proof. There's a channel I watch on YouTube called Haunted Overnight Podcast, or the Overnight Show. These guys are nuts. These guys go to all the big places, some of the hard to get into places. These guys have been chased away by cops for some of their shit, some of their investigations they've done. These guys are the type of guys that bring D-book boxes with them into places like the, Annabelle's home. These guys literally brought multiple D-book boxes into that house with them to open. Like, this is one of the few channels that I watch, and I'm like, I'm trying to be skeptic, and I'm trying to like find holes in every little thing, and it's just like, I can't. In half of this, I fucking can't.
Do they have stuff happen to them, or are they
regularly, but not the fact is they push it. When you watch them get reactions, they're literally trying to get the reactions.
Okay.
These are the guys that go to places they want the spirits to react to them.
Okay.
Half of the time, you'll see some of these guys just get so scared they'll leave sometimes.
Yeah, and
These
that,
guys
I'm sorry, what was the channel called again?
overnight.
Overnight. Okay. Yeah, that was one of the channels that I addressed. Not that. I'm sorry. There was one channel. What was it called? I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was very well produced, extremely well produced, and I have no doubt they're great people. I mean, they look like dudes, they, and ex-military, definitely ex-military. But yeah, the production value and all that, you can tell by their reactions of what they were going through. You can tell it's fake because like
These watch overnight. You're gonna see these guys give you reactions, and you're just gonna be like,
yeah, and that's one thing I always look for. Because I don't know, especially with AI.
When you have your cameraman getting scared to the point where the camera starts trembling, like a shaky cam, you start kind of believing what they're noticing is real.
Yeah, and that's also a good sign, because especially now in these days with AI getting so easy, is that pretty soon you will see videos. And I'm surprised there hasn't been a flood of them already, where it will be almost impossible to detect that something, now probably what's going to happen is they'll use AI and they'll so overdo it that'll make it unbelievable. But, AI is so good now as far as production and things like that, that it's going to come down to, eventually it's going to come down to the only way you can tell is by looking at the people. One of the earlier debunking sessions I went on, I was just going into fake surprise. And the video I hit earlier, that was a good example of fake surprise, because, this curtain suddenly opens and the gal just she doesn't even look at it. She makes a noise, but it's not typical. When you're that scared, you will make noises that are not complimentary. And what a lot of women, I shouldn't say it that way, what a lot of people will fail to recognize is that the look of surprise is not photogenic. They know this. So they will not, take themselves to that point. They always, and that looks fake AF. Just surprise is not, that's just yawning, So yeah, that's always a giveaway when, or the way a shot is set up. If people are off to one side and what's going to happen is in the center, that's also how you spot fake UFO videos.
And everyone here, have you guys ever heard of the comedian Matt Rife? A lot of people have heard about Matt. He's a great comedian. Find him. He actually goes on some of the trips with the overnight group. This is a famous comedian, and you see him getting fucking petrified. There were days where he's like, I want to leave. I don't want to be here. You guys can have your fun. Let me leave.
Yeah.
When you see those reactions, it's just like, okay. And one of the guys who leads the group, who's one of the heads of the group who organizes all the trips, he's actually said it himself. He is a skeptic. He's a believer, but he needs, that's why he does these haunted trips.
Yeah.
He either wants to prove that this shit is real,
or
it's all hokum.
Yeah, and that's Joe Vitale. I keep talking like he's like I'm Italian or something, but he does a lot of this. He doesn't push it to that extreme, but he will go and do investigations, and then he sits there for hours just showing videos, and they're looking for anything. But yeah, he's kind of operates the same way. He spends a lot of time debunking, but then he still goes out looking for it.
So these are the type of guys that they go to the places, they bring debug boxes. Half of the time, half of the staff crew doesn't even know that he's brought a box with him, and he'll just rip it open half the time without warning anybody. He just wants to entice spirits half of the time. It's nuts. They were in the house with the original Annabelle doll as well. The caretakers brought the doll in for one of their trips, if I'm correct. But yeah, I've had experiences in dreams recently, actually.
In Israel?
Yeah,
it
was a dream. I was having the day before was really rough. My son was just cranky all day. And I wake up from a dream. My son is calm. It's the nighttime. I wake up from this dream where I had seen in my dream my son's namesake holding him.
Oh, wow.
And the next day was probably the best day we had ever had together.
Mm.
Oh,
My
amazing.
son was the best mood he had ever been in. Albeit my friend who I named my son after passed away when he was 19 years old. But like, I had that dream of my son being held by this kid, and it even me with dreams, I usually don't believe them. It's the way your brain comprehends death.
Yeah.
Didn't you find it a different quality of dream? In my case, when I've had visitation dreams, they were different than normal dreams.
You
More
see,
vivid, easier to remember, and just
so
a lot more vivid.
I remember most of my dreams. I also dream in color, and I have very hardcore, vivid dreams no matter what. My whole thing, again, being the skeptic that I am, it could just be how I choose, how after I wake up and remember the dream, how I choose to hold on to that dream. Like, do I believe it was a visitation? Part of me does. But the other part is maybe it was just my subconscious needing to see this kid, an image of this kid holding my son, and then, you know, my brain's doing what it was doing, because I had actually been thinking a lot about that kid during that entire day, my friend who passed away. And then, you know, this is, again, the skeptic in me. I will always find that hole. Because I may be a believer in higher powers and all that stuff, but I'm always going to be a skeptic in general.
Yeah, and I think,
especially in this day and age.
But skeptic as in non-believer, which or skeptic as in it could be possible, but it might not be.
Well, one of those is a skeptic and one of those is a non-believer. They're two very separate things.
Skeptic, but a lot of people call themselves skeptics, and all they want to do is debunk everything.
Well,
yeah.
If they believe it's not possible at all, then they're not a skeptic. That just means they don't believe. If you're a skeptic like me, my whole thing is, yes, I will try and poke holes in everything. But if you come with me with enough evidence or enough proof, my reaction is going to be the same. Oh, okay. Interesting.
For me, the only thing I know that I totally and completely believe is what's happened to me. Because, you know, I know that there was nobody behind me when I got hit in the head, and I had a clump of wire and all sorts of stuff in my hair.
You see, that's a completely different situation.
Because trust me, you don't think I was looking everywhere.
Exactly. In those situations, I can understand the belief, and this definitely just happened. Holy shit.
Exactly.
But then half of the other time, it's more like, yeah. The other times it's just, okay, sure, that happened. I have friends who say they have things happen to them too frequently for me to believe it. So, you know.
Oh, I forgot I had my mic off. My phone was ringing. Interesting, though. That is, I try to keep how do I say it? I did not believe in anything. Just trying to think of an example. Remote viewing, prime example. I thought that was just pure, unadulterated, BS, men who stare at goats kind of stuff. And doing it, I do notice that it is really hard to keep your because your imagination and it will be battling. And the thing the thing I've learned from they've declassified it, and there's people who teach it. So far I've learned that if you see something that is really clear, it's imagination. If you see it clearly, it's you write it down as something that's fake because you almost instantly know that that's garbage. But I have about 40%. I wouldn't say it's that high. I don't know what my percentage is, but yeah, I've been experimenting with it with a couple people online and had them give me coordinates, the stuff that, or the best one so far is things I didn't have coordinates for. I just had the name, so there's no way I could look it up, and got some stuff right, which surprises me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it always gives me a bloody nose and a horrendous headache.
Really?
So,
Wow.
But yeah, it's the kind of thing where if you come away feeling happy, you're not doing, you're just your imagination. If you come away and you're confused and you're shaken to the core, yeah, that's probably real. It's like it's not a happy, fun thing. It's
For me, it was all confusing.
Yeah.
Always, every time.
But yeah, the money the CIA poured into it, and they're still pouring into it. It's under a different program now. Yeah, that stuff is, and they're not just doing that; they're playing around. And part of MK Ultra was to see if they could, through drugs, enhance that ability. That was part of it. Oh, let's see here. Okay, so does anybody else have any final thoughts they want to say?
I'm actually gonna hop off, and I was happy to be here for a bit.
Oh, okay.
It's nice talking to you.
Nice to be a part of the conversation.
Well, thank you for popping on. Yeah, because it was our main guest, who apparently has a lot of experiences. I don't know what happened to him, but in all honesty, though, he is going through some pain issues. So
yes,
yeah, I agree. Proudly ignorant. I could see some of that. At the same time, it's something unexplained.
I have a
Uh-huh.
if somebody says that they're a paranormal expert, don't listen to them, because there is nobody in this field that is an expert. We're constantly learning and trying to understand what's going on the other side. There is no expert in any field of this type of paranormal world.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if anybody says, well,
although some people are gifted, are they not, or is that all a hoax? That's what I don't know. Like
there are gifts. No, there are gifts. There's people with magnificent gifts, but the thing is, if, like I said, if somebody says, "Well, I'm an expert. I got this so many years, and I'm an expert," no, you've got 32 years of experience. Those are experiences, that doesn't make you an expert. That's what triggers me too, because unless you're on the other side, you really don't know everything that goes on.
Yeah.
That's true. It's always going to be a mystery until.
Yeah, and a good portion of it may be explainable. It's always one of those things. It's like, but yeah, I lust after the all the evidence that REA was talking about. It's like, yeah, I would. Yeah, I would really like to see. I mean, but I am a believer in it, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not. You know, but yeah, I am skeptical of a lot of stuff on YouTube. But unfortunately, because it's just because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and if you can produce stuff on demand, yeah, because everybody I know who's had serious experiences, it's all stuff that I've been to this place 5 or 6 times and nothing happened. All of a sudden, bam, so and if they are something that you can command, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. I mean, uh,
Exactly. I think you're onto something there.
okay, cool. Thank you for that. Proudly ignorant. Yeah, because I like. I've really got
Well,
into the Wi-Fi.
spirits are not. Well,
Hmm? Spirits are not what?
spirits are not circus animals. They don't. They're not gonna
Yeah, yeah,
respond to you when you want them to. So they do it on their
yeah,
own time, or if at all, if they even want to be in that.
yeah. And even
Exactly. Hmm.
and even the psychopath. Not that everybody has a psychopath living down the street, but even human. If you have a psychopath, even they're not going to do that. And that's a human. That's a living person. I mean, they're not going to respond necessarily by command and things like
Uh,
that. So why would we think spirits would, um,
that's true.
mm,
Claiming master or perfection hinders progress. True.
yeah, yeah,
Very true.
yeah, we get our egos in the way, but that was the best part of this. There we go. We got somebody else. There she is. I'm trying to get used to the new.
Hey,
I'm trying to get used to the new restream,
Hi,
and
Christy.
hey, how are you guys?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Trying to get this lighting figured out here in the bedroom.
uh-huh.
He's in he's at the kitchen table where I normally am. So here I am here. So, how have you guys
So
been?
not bad. How have you been?
Good. Am I pixely? Can you see me okay?
Yes, we can see you. Okay.
Hey, I've never got an applause like that before. That's awesome. have to figure out how to do that.
Yes. Well, I'm still getting used to it too. So,
Awesome.
all you people are so kind. But anyhow, Christy, your experiences.
Mine are really interesting. So, the first probably major experience that I had was in Aberdeen, Washington, and I've kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I am a huge Nirvana fan. And we were staying outside of Seattle, and I made my husband drive me to Aberdeen, which is almost 4 hours away. It's like 3.5 hours away. So I'm going uh, from Seattle to the peninsula. And as we're getting into Aberdeen, like I just start getting really weird. I mean, I can be an angry habit, but I was really like mean and yelling and like just kind of really not myself. And I wanted to go see the house that Kurt Cobain grew up in. And there was it's a park where they ended up spreading his ashes, but there's like a supposedly he stayed under the bridge there and he wrote the song Something in the Way. It was allegedly written about his time staying under that bridge. I don't know how anybody, if that water rose, like he would have floated away. So I'm not really sure how that kind of works. But when we got to the park, it was very, very weird because the moment I stepped out of the car and I stepped foot onto the ground, it was like a heavy weighted blanket had just been dropped on me. And Michael had our dog Snickers at the time. We didn't have Mikey or Sweetie or any of the other fur babies. And it was the weirdest feeling ever. It was the first time I'd ever felt that in my life. And so we were walking around, and I'm a photographer, and I normally take hundreds of pictures of something because, I mean, you just never know when something is gonna work or not work. And that day I took like 3 pictures. But as I was going, so under the bridge, there was a bunch of like urban graffiti, like honoring Kurt Cobain and everything. Michael and Snickers were standing under the bridge, and he's like, "Hey, you got to come see this." And so I started walking toward it, and it was like I hit a wall. Like I could not go any further than where I was. There was this woman, but it wasn't actually a woman under the bridge. She had very black eyes. She had a backpack on. She looked very, very weird. And something in my mind just told me, like, this is not a person. What you're seeing is not a person. And I freaked out. Like, I couldn't move. I couldn't move beyond that step. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. It was like I ran into a brick wall. And so when I finally could talk, I'm like, we're leaving. And at the time I was still in church. So I was not thinking, because I was not really taught. I was taught that there were nasty spirits, but like you didn't actually see them or anything like that. I went back home. I slept for 3 days. I was not myself. I didn't feel good at all. So I ended up calling a couple of my friends, and I'm like, what do I do? And they're like, you need to go get you some sage. This is what you need to do. And that started kind of my spiritual path. But that was probably my most profound one. When I lived in Kentucky, I was only 7 miles away from actually a really big battle. It's called the Battle of Mill Springs or Fishing Creek, depending on which side you were on, Confederate or Union. And Kentucky was considered neutral. And it was a really big military point that Lincoln didn't want to lose Kentucky to the Confederacy. And this battle, like if the Confederacy would have won this particular battle, then Kentucky would have been in the Confederacy. But it was a huge battle. It was fought in January. And General Zollicoffer was shot at like point blank range. There's like a mass grave there. And it is the weirdest when you walk on it, like the land, you can feel the energy. And so the mass grave is over here, and then over here they had headstones like lined up as to how people rode into battle. And so as I kind of like the first time we went over there, Michael, like we walked around the mass grave and stuff, and I felt kind of weird. But when we got to where the headstones were, Michael's like, don't go over there. And I'm like, okay. And so I went back after we had left because I was like, all right, we're going to see what this is about. And I could feel it. I could hear it. I could hear what they were saying, like writing in. There was a house. They ended up tearing the house down, but where people just got abandoned. So they were shot and killed with friendly fire. They were unalive, and all of this kind of stuff. And there's like a whole trail you can take that you can drive that takes you to all of these different points. But there were a couple of points that were really, there was one that the Confederacy had like taken over this house, and the only thing that was left standing was the stone chimney. And so, you know, it was on a place that said don't trespass. So of course I hopped the fence and like you could see what was going on with the chimney. And it's a lot of like what I get is just a lot of feeling. It's not that I see anything, but it's like I feel it, I can hear it. The where I lived at in Kentucky, so I lived on a hill in a private community, and then Lake Cumberland was just right like right down the hill. We had a private dock, and at the bottom of the hill was a slave graveyard. I can't think of a nice term for that, but and so what happened when they expanded Lake Cumberland, the Army Corps of Engineers like bought out people's homes or ran them out of their homes. So there's literally like towns and farmsteads at the bottom of this, and you know they said that they relocated all of the graves and stuff, but they didn't. And it was really creepy because, especially when the fog would come, it was like sometimes I just felt like soldiers walking next to me. Like it was the driveway to get back into the community that I lived in. You could feel it. People would go up that where the slave graveyard was. They would go up that hill and like right through what would be our neighborhood, and down the road that was our driveway to into Somerset, because I lived outside of Somerset, Kentucky. Where all this happened was Nancy, Kentucky. And so it was weird, but you can feel it. You can really feel it in the South. I can feel it a lot in the South. I mean, I've been all over. Like I can feel stuff in Washington State and Alaska, but that's like more higher vibrational stuff as opposed to the just trauma. Like there was so much loss and so
Absolutely.
much death, and they even have like I always thought that southern porches were really pretty. I didn't know why they painted them blue. I thought it was just like a thing, but it's actually it's a color. It's called hate blue. I in HAINT, I think is how you spell it. But it is to protect the porches from the people whose souls are bound to the earth that have not been able to cross over, that have been there for years, decades. So there's a lot. I it's hard for me to be in the South. Truthfully, it's really hard for me to be down there. I don't like
There's so
Kentucky or
much trauma.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
hmm It
absolutely.
is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, with the Gettysburg and Maryland. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Maryland was really hard for me. Yeah. But you know, and even just little like not little things, but like there was just so much, and I think Kentucky being neutral was really difficult because you know it wasn't like we're pro this or we're anti that. It was like you were in the middle and you could kind of choose, and it was
Maryland
just rough.
the same way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Maryland was neutral as
Yeah.
well because they
Yeah.
have DC on each side is Maryland and Virginia. Virginia was southern, so that the
Right.
North couldn't lose Maryland, but Maryland really was a southern state. It was a slave state, and the Mason-Dixon line was the boundary was Pennsylvania and Maryland. That was the
Mm-hmm.
Mason-Dixon line. So talk about so
Right.
much trauma just trying to get to
Yeah.
the north from the south.
Well, and even, you know, I was born and I lived in Kansas until I was 16. And even in Kansas, there is a lot of stuff there, like, you know, Native American stuff. There a lot of that trauma trail of tears, you know, that whole kind of thing. That's kind of why some of the Western states are a little easier for me to be in.
Yeah.
Not that there's not trauma there is. I mean, there's, you know, icky things have happened all over.
Everywhere.
It's just not as old. I find
Yeah.
that old trauma is harder to deal with because it's rooted in things that hopefully people no longer view things that way anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but it's deep rooted, and when you've got blood and bones, you know, on and in the land, it really, you know, really difficult. Even when we were going to Lake Tahoe, we drove over Donner Pass, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
this is not cool. And I
Oh,
didn't know. I didn't know we were there. I was
yeah.
just like, oh, this feels really icky. But for me, I'm really fortunate that for me to feel those energies, it's got to be really high. Like it's got to be a strong energy. So very rarely do I mean, I'm not somebody that like can't go to Walmart. You know, I mean, I can go to Walmart and it doesn't affect me the way that it does some people. So it's got to be pretty high up there one way or the other. You know, either high vibe like Alaska or really intense. And you know, and there's no way you can't do enough Reiki, you can't clear that land, and there are just souls that are bound to it, and I believe it. You know, I don't know that maybe you see them. I like I said, I feel their presence. I don't see them, but I feel them. I feel, you know, and it can feel pretty icky. You know.
well, just like my experience in London with the Jack the Ripper stuff, and they talk about really old trauma, just devastating trauma. I mean, that's pretty dramatic, but it,
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, and that doesn't go away. You know, I mean, well, I guess it depends on how you see people and spirits and souls, but you know, we're all energetic beings. We all have energy. And so if energy never really dies, then it transforms, it goes somewhere, you know. And what I believe to be true. Now, everybody might not agree with me, and that's okay, you know, because we can respect all different perspectives, right? But when something happens that's really traumatic, like war or unaliving or you know that kind of thing. I do believe that people really do get stuck and it's just like confusion and they don't know what to do. Some people don't, you know, some energies don't want to go somewhere. You know, talking about the Y files, you know, my mom was an RN. Well, she is an RN, I guess, but she worked on the cancer floor for over a decade. And the stories that my mom told me about people crossing over was really because my mom is a solid Christian woman. I mean, you guys, anybody, she sits in the front row of the Baptist church, so she gets all of Jesus, right? And we joke with her about it, but that's who she is. And so she doesn't believe. She believes that when you cross over, you either go up or you go down. There's no in between. There's no if, ands, or buts. It's decided for you based on choices and decisions that you make. But she she told a lot of stories. She told one woman the story of one woman. She was in a bad accident, and they she had come into the ER, and they knew she was going to pass, and they didn't have enough rooms in the ER, so they sent her up to the oncology floor, and she became my mom's patient, and my mom went in and told her, she goes, you cannot die on me yet. Like I've got to go deal with this other. So she kept coming in and checking on this lady, and she was like, "Can I go home now? Can I go home now?" And my mom's like, "Not yet, not yet." Finally, got to the point where my mom was able to go sit with her, so she didn't pass alone. And my mom came in and sat down and held her hand and said, "Okay, you can go now." And she said that she was gone like that. She had another lady that was screaming and fighting, and she's like she goes, she didn't go to a good place. So I mean, I definitely believe that how you live your life is, you know, important. Do we have a question? Because I'm on my phone, I can't see.
Mr. Mercabilistic. Yes, that big word. Do you think their souls are stuck or just lingering energies?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think if back in the really, really, really old times, I've heard stories of servants being bound to the land that their owners had, and their souls were bound there. So I do think it can be stuck. I do think it's just lingering. I think after a person crosses over, their energy definitely lingers for a while. And you can certainly feel it. And I do believe that they show up to you in ways and let you know that they're no longer with you. And then I think, depending on what you believe happens in the afterlife, you go to heaven, you go to hell, you reincarnate, whatever that looks like for you. So it does kind of stick around for a while, but I do really believe that souls get stuck. And
I feel really
I believe
bad
that
for the ones that get stuck, though, don't you? Like, that's no place to be. Earthbound is no place to be.
right.
Really,
Well, and yeah, and I mean it depends on, like, usually if they're stuck, it's pretty traumatic. And it's not like that Jennifer Love Hewitt where it's go into the light, it's all okay. It's not that simple. That's kind of not how that works. And you can feel that energy too, because I mean, imagine if you were stuck somewhere and and depending on like the Appalachia, and the 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 mountains are some of the oldest mountains in the world.
yeah.
The Smoky Mountains and that whole thing is really, 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 really old. And so, if you've got something that was stuck there from, 1600 or 1200 or, whatever. I mean, that's really old. And you've seen it change, and their attitudes don't change. We do, but and that's one thing when you're dealing with those energies. I had to my friend Clay, he's like my soul brother, but him and his husband Chris are really, really great, great friends. But I told him, I said, hey, I want to go check this place out, but I need to bring you with me because you're a guy. And he's like, Christy, I'm a gay man. What am I going to do? And I'm like, stand there and act mean. And he's just like, are you kidding me? And I said, no, I'm dead ass serious. I'm like, stand there and protect me. Like, that's your job. And, but, and it worked. But, but there is that feeling, when you walk into something that is that old, especially if you're a woman, I mean, you're seen as a witch, and I mean, like, those old energies don't want you there. And that's why it was really hard for me to live in Kentucky. I lived there for 5 years, but it was a tough 5 years. It wasn't the easiest.
Oh, Luke. Okay, I know you. Never mind. Ah, sorry.
Hi, Lori.
But I do find that interesting that police officers, they talk about when they come upon murders and things like that they will still feel the soul in the room, and it's palpable. This it's nothing. The way I've had it described to me, it's not necessarily what do you call it, doom and gloom or anything like that. It's just you feel somebody. You walk in and you feel like there's somebody else there. It's not like, oh, I'm going to kill you or anything like that. It's just you
Right.
feel like there's somebody there, and all of a sudden you feel it gone, and it's like,
Yeah.
holy hell. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm as thick as a brick when it comes to that stuff. And what did I just beat myself with? Oh, stage hypnotism. Oh, that felt good. But yeah, I'm thick as a brick when it comes to that stuff. I am no way I can walk into a murder scene. Well, not that I have, but I mean, I about that level where, don't you feel that? What?
Yeah.
Dad, don't you feel it? Where? I no. It's like me in math school. Like, huh?
See, I can't do hospitals. Hospitals are tough for me.
Me
Oddly
too.
enough,
I
cemeteries aren't.
I can't do a hospital at all. I go into a hospital and I can tell you when someone's about to die.
Yeah.
No joke. I
Yeah.
don't like hospitals. I was once in an ER with my ex-wife my wife at the time, my ex-wife, And I literally turned to her and was like, I need to actually go outside and smoke. And I had been on a vape for a while. And she's like, what's wrong? I was like, the person 4 beds over is about to pass away. And as I'm stepping out the emergency room door, you hear the flatline.
Yeah.
You can. It's really
awful.
It's really interesting.
I seem a little distracted. I have a baby on my shoulder.
No, you're okay. As you know, when people are passing, you see their chakras shut down. If you see that, you can actually, and their heart chakra is the last chakra to close, which you can, if you're able to see those, you can see that. There's I can kind of feel it too. You know, I get a pretty good sense of you know, it's like, hey, you should probably go say your goodbyes. There was, I remember one time there was somebody and because it's physically you, before you pass, you have your body does a last push. And it kind of gives you the opportunity to say goodbye, but you will be fine. Like you could be incoherent and then you will just kind of like sit up and look around and be like, bye, you know, whatever. And there was one time where it was an older person and I told the person I was with, I'm like, this person is going to be gone by the end of the night. You better stay by. And I got told, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, well, you go ahead and stay. I'm gonna go home. And then I got a phone call like, I can feel that. It's a really awful feeling. I could feel it when my granny was getting ready to pass. I just knew,
I have
you
a
know,
question.
yeah.
Are you, and I don't recall if this ever came up, are you empathically inclined?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I register high on that, but yeah, I swear, when it comes to feeling
Yeah.
stuff like that, thick as a brick.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's something I've been around a lot of death. I've been around death since I was 6 years old. And so it's not a fun thing to know.
No,
Or
it's
to
not.
feel.
Yeah. It feels like a
Yeah.
responsibility to me.
Yeah.
I felt it as a
Well,
kid, and I didn't know how to tell my parents. Like,
yeah.
because I could tell, like, my grandfather was going to die, or I could tell that the phone call was to tell my parents that my grandmother was dead. And I'm sure my parents thought I was nuts, but I was right usually, and that's
Yeah.
something you want to be right about, though. I almost felt the responsibility of it. If that makes
You
any
know,
sense.
it does. And I've learned that we have to understand when to give messages and when not to give messages. And sometimes those messages come for us so that we know, so that we can prepare ourselves, so we can comfort those around us. Just like when my dad passed, I knew my dad was going to die of colon cancer. I knew that was the moment I looked at him. I just knew in my mind, I was like, this is what's going to take your dad from you. And you know, and at that point, you know, I couldn't have said that to my mom or my
No,
dad, or you know. So you know, you have to, you know, I think the important thing, if you're able to feel that, is to just know that um that you're going to have to be there for people that you love, and how they need you to be there, not how you feel you need to be there, but you really have to meet them where they are. And sometimes, you know, I mean, I've seen people pass away too, where I literally looked at somebody once and I was like, I have never experienced anything like this. I do not know what to even say to you at this point. Like, I just don't know. Um, yeah, Civil War battlefields are,
Yeah.
they're tricky. They're very tricky. Or like Native American places are very tricky as well. Anytime that there's a lot of war and fighting, especially fighting over, you know, what we fought the Civil War over, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, it's brother against brother. It's family. It's a moral conflict. Like whichever side you're on of that, it's really difficult.
Yeah,
It
Absolutely.
really is.
I had to properly make sure that Miss Sunrise Dawn knows that I am the premier ultimate power in the universe when it comes to making typos. So nobody, I better not see anybody apologize in the chat for any typos, because I will take it as a great offense. I read typo E's very well. So, yeah.
You're
But no,
omnipresent when it comes to typos. I know.
Right?
but and I do find that interesting because I've seen so much, and I think um, Short Fry was, or at least somebody in her crew was talking about how Civil War places that you hear cannons fire, you see lights in the middle of the night. There's all sorts of different activity. You hear people not chanting, but you hear like soldiers marshaling and things like that. And in a couple places they've caught footage where you can see soldiers walking and things like that. And yeah, just all the trauma. I guess maybe the land stores it.
It does.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you think about it, blood is, no matter, blood is very powerful. I mean, you can do a lot of, stuff with blood. There's even stuff out there called blood magic, which is really, don't ever do that. But blood is very powerful. It's your DNA, it's your life force, it is your essence. And when that gets spilled on the ground, when your bones get buried in the ground, it's very traumatic. Like I said, there's some places that it's easier for me to be at. Mine is mostly related to land though, and buildings. There was a place, we were in Washington State, and I forget where we were. We were over by Anacortes, but there was this. So Anacortes is like 3.5 hours, kind of like northwest ish of Seattle, to give you like perspective. And so we had driven to this. It was a like a fort on the ocean, and there was this really really weird like bunker thing that I was drawn to. Like I had to go to it, and it was the weirdest thing. So you like it almost looked like it was like a door to like a root cellar. Like, have you guys seen those doors? Just like those really weird doors that's like built into the earth. So you walk in, and there was like it was a square room. So there was like a way to walk around the perimeter. It was inside of the building, but you could walk around it. And then there was like this room inside of there that was like, I don't know, I'm going to say lead lined, but it wasn't lined with lead, but it was like that heavy duty where they kept communication and stuff like that. That was the creepiest place. I got cold. I was scared. I couldn't, but it's like, it drew me there. It just drew me. And Michael's like, okay, we'll go in it. And he's not afraid of much. And I'm just like, get me out of here. It's like, you wanted to go in here. But then there's other places where it's cool, so not everything is bad. You can go into a place and have, a lighthearted feeling too. It's not all heavy.
Yeah.
But for me, like I said, it's got to be way up here. Like if I'm noticing it, it's serious. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the kind of place where, went on a mine tour once, and they turned the lights off. And of course, you're, in the copper mine. I don't know how far. You're probably half mile, maybe a mile into the ground. You're not getting a single aluminum of light from anything. They turn the lights off, and you hear a lot of sensitive people. They start screaming, and I'm still just sitting there like, what? Huh? It's depressing. It really is. But I actually, at times, I'm thankful for that after hearing some of
Yes.
the.
Sometimes it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times
Yeah.
it's a good
And like you know, a lot of people, it just kind of depends too on what frequency you're vibrating at, where you can feel those
Mm,
things. I'm really thankful. Like I know people who literally cannot walk into a Walmart. Like they just their emotions can't handle all of the energies. So you know, it like I said, for me, it's more the land that I feel it places.
mm.
I don't, but like I said, I don't, cemeteries don't bother me, you know, it doesn't bother me to drive through one of those. Um, you know, I like to go look at the, you know, old markers and
I
stuff.
think
So,
cemeteries are pretty cool, actually.
yes,
The
yes.
history and some of the graves, some of the really old time graves, and
Mhm.
some of the history, and it's
Right.
and they used to get really creative with the headstones, and um,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they had some beautiful
pretty
stuff.
cool.
That is an interesting question by Artem. I'm proudly ignorant. Here's a haunting
Hmm.
thought. If it's possible to linger after you die, are there a bunch of pervy ghosts out there decide to stick around just to stalk the people they're obsessed with? Now, it's kind of a funny thought, but you know, if you, as you are in life, does
Hmm.
that carry through?
I don't think that you get to choose that. I believe that we reincarnate. And I think that when souls linger, it's due to trauma. I don't think that somebody like, I mean, you know, everybody jokes. I joke with my husband. I'm like, if I if I go before you, I'm going to come back and haunt you. But it really doesn't work that way. You know, we get to you know, when it's done, and like I said, if it's traumatic, then yeah, you know, you're gonna be stuck. But otherwise, I just believe that you just go back
Hmm.
to you know, like creator, and you talk about your life and what you've learned, and you know, you see if your soul contract has been fulfilled, if you've gotten to where you need to be, and if not, then you go over, you know, what you want to learn in the next life. So I do believe that this is the only incarnation that we like this is the most important one because we're living it now and we're evolved and we're growing. But I mean that would be really creepy if you had some weird, creepy, stocky ex-boyfriend
Would
type
be.
who was like, I'm just gonna stick around. But I don't think that is the way that works.
And
Well,
you really, really hope that you've learned whatever you're here to do, because I don't want to do this again.
hmm.
It's like
Right.
I need
Well,
I need to move on. I can't do this again.
right, right. Well, and I think that's where, you know, a lot of things in our birth chart and stuff comes up is, you know, what did you learn and what did you bring with you? And you know, because it shows in your north and your south node. Your south node is what you brought with you into this life, lessons that you've already learned. And I think that if you know, we have to learn some big lessons. So if you're learning the little easy lessons, um, maybe wonder what your past life was like. Was that one really bad so that now this is the easier one? Are you just getting started? You know, I think the further along we get and the more often we incarnate, the more difficult the lessons become. What is Miss Sunrise Dawn saying? There's something I've never told anyone. What
Yeah,
does
yeah.
she have?
Here's something that I've never told anyone. I have a little voice that will sometimes warn me when I'm seeing someone slash doing something for the last time. I will literally hear it say "last time." Does anyone else have that?
Mhm. I don't have a voice. That's kind of a feeling. Sometimes
I
I
don't
feel
do
it,
that.
but yeah, but you know, it's something that you
Oh
know,
wow, really?
that what a difficult thing to have, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and it, you know, intuition is, you know, we have guardian angels, we have spirit guides, and we have things that protect us. And so, you know, I absolutely believe, you know. Kind of like
Right.
if you forget your keys, stay home an extra 5 minutes before you head out because you don't know what you're going to miss, you know?
Right, exactly.
Luke writes, I've had a voice warn me to slow down, and there was a herd of elk around the bend. So that'd be more precognition type thing going on
Yeah.
there.
Or spirit guide, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Too.
And with people, I can't speak to a lot of that because I really don't know. But I do know with people, oftentimes we will get feelings. And what that is, a lot of times, Gavin De Becker talks to this ad nauseum in his book, Gift of Fear, which is kind of an odd name for it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's teaching that fear that we have as children is actually useful. It's there for a reason. It's your brain trying to keep you alive. And what he had happen to him is one of the gals was saying, I don't know why I did this. I was stopped at a stoplight and something just told me to go. And I just, boom, gunned it. Okay, well, and he's like, okay, let's just slow down and talk through this. Did you notice anything in the rearview mirror? Well, yeah, now you mentioned it, I forgot all about it. There was a car pulled up behind me. There was a guy getting out. Okay, now when you saw the guy in the rearview mirror, was he acting funny or anything? Yeah, he gave me a really weird vibe, and he was walking up to my car. That is your brain teaching you, I'm keeping you safe. Now, it will err on the side of safety.
Oh, yeah.
So there
Sure.
is a lot of times where it will give you reaction. But one of the things, one of the disservices we're teaching to our children is not to pay attention to that because
Yeah.
You have to listen to that. You have to listen
Yeah.
to that gut feeling, in my opinion.
That's where I was lucky. My dad always told me, he's like, you know, if that little voice inside of you, he's like, it's God, you know. He's like, so you should listen to it when it talks.
And I don't know, probably ignorant, right? So I hear voices sometimes of people that are alive talking around me. Would be cool if it was a clairaudience, but I attribute it to just some paranoid schizo type effect, just imagination, I think. I do know, at least with, how do I say this without sounding like a complete nutball? With the CIA approved teaching on such that if you can hear it or if you can see it clearly, chances are it's your imagination. If it's a little ambiguous, maybe not. I don't know. I'm still learning. I wish I could say I was an expert. Wish I could say I had that stuff figured out. I'm not even close. I do know when you have it, when you actually do see it, it's not a happy feeling. It's something that makes you like, what the hell did I just do? What does this mean? What do I think about what happens after we're done? And it's kind of like all your beliefs are now on the table and you're like, what do I do with this? But yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Who knows?
Well, and I think it's important too. Ben, you make a good point. You know, spirit world doesn't communicate with us the way that we're communicating right now. Like they're not talking complete sentences. Sometimes you'll just get a word or you'll see. It's like when you guys watch Karina read cards on my channel. She would get she would see something, and so you're not going to get a full sentence. I always joke around. I'm like, we would all love for Jesus or God or whoever that is for you, whatever you believe, to come sit down on the edge of our bed and be like, okay, now Christy, this is what's going to go on. These 5 years you're going to be hell, but after that you're going to have 10 really good ones. So get through these 5, you're fine. That does not happen. So I think anytime that you have, unless you're doing automatic writing, anytime that you get something that's like a full sentence, that probably isn't authentic. Because there's a difference there, in how they communicate.
Miss
I
Sunrise.
hate to interrupt, but I have to go. It was great talking to everybody and seeing everybody tonight.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Miss Sunrise. Yeah, I'm getting ready to wrap this up here, but Miss Sunrise Dawn writes, "It's both a blessing and a curse." Just an example. I heard that warning last time I saw my cousin Johnny. Wish I paid attention. I thought, no way. 2 months later, he died in a wreck.
Yeah. You know, it's really scary and it's difficult to trust yourself that way
Yeah.
because, you know, it what if you're wrong? You know, but I want to encourage you guys, you know, sometimes it's so that you can, you know, in an instance like that, maybe it could be so that you could have ended it on a positive thing. So try to find that positive side to it, you know, that upside of knowing something like that, you know, if you know, like again, you know, my dad, I was able to be there for my brother, my kids, my mom, my family, and I was able to just navigate it in a different way. So, you know, there are, it is a blessing and a curse, but I think if we can find the way to use it for our highest good, I think then it's a lot easier to manage. You know, I find for me personally, when I don't know how to use something, I don't know how to control it, I don't know how to manage it, it's much more difficult for me. I struggle with it a lot more. And once I can kind of figure out, okay, this is how I do this, um, it kind of takes a different tone for me. So, yeah.
That's good. And I would like to thank you for helping me with the project I've been working on.
Of course, of
Thank you for
course.
that.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I'll always give anybody my opinion. You
Well,
might not want it, would you?
but if I didn't have, I've been exploring the CIA training we were talking about earlier. I've been exploring that. Christy's background. I've been a guide where she's been willing to give me addresses, coordinates, names
Yeah.
sometimes, and it's handy having that because there is no way you can
Mhm.
look. You know, it's validation.
Right.
It's like, okay, there's no way I can
Yeah.
look this up. There's no way I know this place. There's no way. And having somebody who's had that has been really invaluable and to tell me, you are
Yes.
you're not doing bad, or hey, you're not even close. This no. No.
Right. Well, and I think when you're learning something new like that, that validation, because sometimes we can feel like imposters. And, you know, I remember Ben being like, no, this isn't right. This I probably have. And I'm like, nope. And then I would send pictures. I'd be like, let me show you. You know, this is what I sent. So, yeah, you're doing good. You should keep it up. You should keep it up.
I felt my dad after his passing, and his presence is felt in many ways. Yes, that is very common from what I understand, Luke. That was
Yeah.
very well said, Christy. Yes, Christy's a source of wisdom. Don't tell her I said that, though, but yeah.
Well, I've just messed up a lot. So.
I would like to thank everybody for. Do we have any closing thoughts from anybody? We've been at this for 2 hours.
Well, I'm gonna hop off here. You guys, it's so good to hop on and get to chat with you guys for a few quick minutes. And yeah, you guys all take care of
Thank you
yourselves.
so
Thanks
much.
for having me on. Of course, of course. Glad to be here.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stick a fork in this. I would like to thank everybody who joined us: REA, Short Fry, Shannon Smith, and of course the great and powerful Christy. And thank you to everybody in the chat. If you like what we're doing, if you have any suggestions, please let me know, because it's getting so hard to not think of stuff that's geeky psychology. So please let me know if you have any ideas. If you'd like to dig into anything, please let me know. If you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. I really do value your input. I try to read everything. Well, I try to read. I'm from Bisbee. Reading wasn't my strong suit. But thanks again to everybody. I do hope everybody has a great day, evening, night. You guys all take care. And yeah, try to see you around soon again. I'll try to see you again soon sometime. Thank you so much. If I can